Hello, this is a review of the Sony HDR AS10 action video camera. Now there's a lot to like about this camera and a little bit to hate, so we're going to talk about the pros and cons in a minute here. Overall there's a lot of impressive things, but a drawback that I definitely want to draw your attention to so that you're aware of. So first of all, it comes in a box that you see pictured here. Out of the box comes all of the accessories that you see in front of me here. So first of all, of course, you get the camera itself. That's this little guy here. Just a little monochrome display for setting settings, no viewfinder LCD panel otherwise, but it's a nice little camera here. Of course, it comes with a battery. You get one battery and two battery trays. The battery trays match the battery types. There's the letter X, matches the X on my battery. So obviously it supports a G-type battery with the trays provided as well. So it gives you a charging and transfer cable. It's just a standard USB 2 cable as well. So you'll have that. You'll get this watertight case, which also doubles as a travel case. So I just throw the camera in here and throw this whole thing in my bag without worrying about it. So this is your watertight case, and is also the case that you have to use for pretty much most mounting points out there. So if you want to mount this any which way other than just hold it in your hand, you're probably going to have to put into this, save for one example mount point I'll talk about in a moment. So this is your mounting and watertight case. Here's a clip that you're going to want because there's holes in the bottom, so it's not watertight until you clip this on in, and you screw this on in. But the whole point of this is then this can clip in and out of different mounting brackets. So it comes with two mounting brackets. Here's a curved surface mounting bracket with adhesive back. Here's a flat surface mounting bracket. And you can also definitely buy additional mounting brackets, which I'll talk about in a moment as well. And then it comes with, your usual warranty cards and stuff like that, and a manual. Now this is a big old map style manual, but you'll want to give it a brief look because when you get to dealing with the settings, you only have two buttons, and you'll want to make sure you'll understand where different settings are, so like how to get set to different quality modes. It's really easy to do in routine use for setting to the different things, so don't worry about the complicated navigating around. I did it just fine without having to consult a manual after a moment. Now, compared to a normal camcorder, this thing is impressively small. So here it is compared to this one here. It's much smaller. It can fit in the palm of your hand, can be thrown in your pocket. Of course, it gets a little bit bigger when you throw it inside the watertight case. But otherwise, it's really small. Now, of course, this one can't stand up straight. This one doesn't have a nice viewfinder that this one has along the side. So you don't know where you're pointing when you're taking a video of this one, whereas this one shows you exactly what's going to be in the picture at any given time. But otherwise, this one's really small. That was nice. This one even has a wider angle lens. Now this one had plenty of a wide angle lens to get as much in, but you will find some curvature that I'll show you later because of this really wide angle lens. So drawbacks are it won't sit straight up. It doesn't have a viewfinder, so you don't know what you're actually taking a photo with until you come back later. But the biggest thing that you're going to notice is this guy here. When you do want to put it in, it's a great case, right? It holds it in, it keeps it safe, and so on. This much works really well. It easily gets slid in and out, ratchet it down, go ahead and put the bottom piece on so that you'll have it watertight if that's what you need. But you just put it inside of an airtight, watertight case. And let me tell you, the sound quality sounds like you just slid it into a watertight, airtight case. The sound quality sounds very muted when it's inside of this. Now, because it needs to be inside this case to fit in most mount points out there, it's something that you'll definitely notice the difference in sound quality. I will show you an example video with and without this case, and you'll be able to judge it for yourself. So sound quality is probably the number one thing that you'll have a complaint about. But remember, it's an action video camera. It's probably more for capturing action than sound. So if you're really out to go get great sound quality, this is where it'll let you down. If it's not for that, I think it has a lot of other impressive aspects to it. And it does stand up perfectly well inside the watertight case. So here's with my normal Sony camcorder. We're going to take a look at this very same example. Notice the flat lines that we see around from the normal camera, and we're going to take a look at the wider angle lens in a moment. So this is our comparison shot of a normal camcorder as I walk up to things and take an example. I think this camera that I have is excellent. Now keep in mind I'm looking at some very stark differences when I work with this camera between the, I go from sun to shadow, so we're going to get some differences. So here we are outside. To give you an example, you'll notice how the wide angle lens tries to catch as much as possible. It's a completely horizontal fence that you'll notice. So you'll see the earth bend around the lens to try to get as much as possible in. So this gives you an example with bright sun. So it's pretty sunny outside. You'll notice that the focus, it'll go in pretty close as I run up to things. With the 60p mode, you'll notice it's fairly smooth, which is really nice. So this is the PS mode that runs in 1080 60p. And let's look at an example, real time, and then I'm going to show you really cool slow motion. So that's in real time. Now let's see it in slow-mo. Okay, now I have it inside of the watertight case. Now this is the same case that you're going to have to use for any mount. Now you'll notice a very similar image quality. It's now cloudy, so you don't get the brightness that the sun had offered before. So this is still the PS mode, the same that we had before, but you'll notice the biggest difference is the sound quality. It is significantly muted. I'm talking at the exact same volume that I've talked for the rest of the videos, but you'll notice how much more muted it is. As I move it around a little bit, you might hear a little bit more clicking based on things touching the case. This is the HQ mode. That's the 1080 30p. It's half the frames per second of the other one. You're going to get a similar picture, but you'll notice it's not as fluid as the PS mode. So I can still come in and see the different things, but as I pan around, you'll notice that it's not as fluid as it was in PS. Now you'll notice the wide-angle lens, of course, skews the world around it a little bit, but it gives you a lot more of the world in focus. But you'll definitely notice the tops of the fences that are normally horizontal. The focus is really good. If you think about it, I can walk right up and you don't see the initial blur from focus at first. So I can walk up pretty close to things without having too much trouble. I think it's hard to hold the camera perfectly level to go up sit vertically. You'll notice that I often will end up holding it a little bit of an angle, which adjusts the world. But remember, rugged camera, that's not necessarily what we're trying to capture. I think the super slow motion is really cool of a mode. So let's try a little bit more. Now let's take a look at an indoor example. Now this is without the case, but you can get an idea of different lighting differences. So we have lower lighting, which some cameras have a harder time with. So I was showing you an outdoor lighting as another example. We still get pretty decent image quality and focus when I run up more closely to get a closer look at things, where other cameras might have a harder time focusing. Just to give you an example of what we're looking at here. And again, you'll see the difference with the wide-angle lens on the vertical blinds. You should probably notice how it bends. And of course, this is again what it looks like when I put it inside of the watertight mountable casing. Now there's two panels to be aware of on here. First of all, you have this door here that you can flip down. It's a little bit awkward because it springs back up and tries to cover the ports on you, but it's plenty workable, just FYI. On the left, here's your USB and charging port and transfer cable. Here's your HDMI. There's a little orange light that lights up right where my finger is here when it's charging, and microphone port and so on. And when you go to plug in the transfer cable, go ahead and pop it in like that. It's a little bit tight for going in. Pull it on out as you see there, and then this is a little bit hard to flip back on, but it's not too bad at all. There are other accessories and mount points that you can get out there. So for example, here's one that doesn't actually require that watertight case to go in. It just has the curved surface that you can connect this on in. Here's a headband clip that does take the watertight case. Here's a tilt-based camera for a helmet. Here's different doors, including a dive door for the watertight case. Here's more mounts for helmets. Here's a handlebar mount point. And here's a car or otherwise suction cup mount point as well. You can also buy anti-fog sheets for the lens. And the one thing you must get, if you don't already have one, is a micro high capacity SD card. Thanks for watching the review.